Hey, what's up, guys? Let's do another fight book classic. I had gone over Geoff Thompson book a while ago, Dead or Alive, and that was printed by Paladin. Right, the guys that printed my buddy James back in the day. This was obviously a British thing. They had a bunch of these booklets that he did that I thought were very. I mean, in terms of Geoff Thompson's a legend, right? He was a Coventry doorman, right, bouncer. He knocked out like 350 dudes, over the course of his career. Really good writer, actually, and he sort of distilled what he calls self-protection. I prefer that to self-defense. It's just semantics, but there's sort of a different meaning here. He's really going for on the what you have here, the idea of the physical, right, the mental, even the conscious, the subconscious in dealing with confrontations. Okay, now with auto fighting without fighting, where's that from? Remember to the dragon? Remember the Australian bloke wants to fight Bruce Lee, so they go, okay, we'll go to that island, and the guy gets on the dinghy first to go, and then Bruce just lets the dinghy out with the guy, half capsized. Everyone laughing at him. So it was interesting how he had sort of avoided a fight with this aggressive man. Now, the one thing I will say is that this came out in '98, right? It came out when Tony Blair had become the prime minister, and England, Britain, the cool Britannia era, right? The Oasis, fucking all the things you had. It was sort of a little things are a little different today, and what I would argue with is that in some ways, perhaps um, these techniques in here that he recommends, okay, uh, they may not. And he has even mentioned that the enemy may change in the future, and we may have to adapt the tactics. I think that is happening now, and in some ways, I would argue that probably this stuff in here is probably better if amongst your own people. I don't know how else to say it. Amongst a relatively homogeneous country. Anyway, I'll go over that just a little later. There's a lot in this, but there's really not in distilled in the essence of one of the things that Mr. Thompson did. And I'm glad that he's getting recognized by I don't know how to say martial arts YouTube now. Right? He's getting recognized for the idea of defense. Defense. What is this? Well, he builds all things around, right? Defense. I should give you a brief outline of it, right? As soon as you're approached in a potentially confrontational situation, take up a small 45-degree stance, moving your right or left leg inconspicuously behind you. Splay your arms, right, as though an exclamation. Okay, you keep basically here, right? You got your hands open, right? I have actually done this, and it works. It basically every person that came up to me aggressively when I did this, they all stopped. Now, part of the big thing about what I really like about Thompson, it's giving you a game plan, so to speak. Of course, you got to practice it, but a good game plan that makes a lot of sense, as he mentions. Everything in here is right. There's all concepts. This book is pieced together from empirical study in the field. Okay, how many situations was he in where he was, jawing with some yob, who then he would knock the fuck out. None of it is theory. I've made it well work on many occasions against fearsome opponents who wanted to part me from my mortality, or for my good looks at the very least. He's actually a really good writer. And that's a big thing, like James, right? Because you had a lot of martial art books, but then you had guys who actually could also write. So getting back to the idea of, right, defense. If I had a factory, you'd want to protect it from robbers, right? The most sensible thing you would do is play a fence around it to make a hard target. Potential robber has to get past the fence before he can think about attacking the factory. While the fence may not keep him out indefinitely, or the wall, it will make his job decidedly harder. Right? Just like a boxer, right? Flicks a jab into his opponent's face, even if the jab doesn't hurt him or even touch him at all. The jab's still doing its job, right? Of course, it keeps him at bay, right? To get close to you, the person has to first deal with this thing. And one of the biggest things here, now remember, this is not defense, right? This is the art of fighting without fighting. So, defense was a similar book like this, which I don't have. You can see them on YouTube. They have his videos here. The whole idea of this is a huge thing. Okay, this is something that no one taught me. I had to learn the hard way. Okay, as you know, right? The most important thing when a situation becomes live, right, is again imperative you understand yourself and what will happen to your body, right? You will experience a huge injection of adrenaline, right? That metallic taste in your mouth, the little pinpricks in your face that you feel, right? The feeling in the pit of your stomach, right? The adrenal dump. This stuff is getting you ready to like fight or run. Right? Of course, most people are not used to it or not taught that this is not fear. You freeze. You mistake it for fear and you freeze. Right? And then you become Then you become a stationary target. If you're lucky, you just get punked out, which is horrible. At worst, you get your ass kicked, or you get, I don't know, stabbed or something, or killed. Uh, and so that's the whole idea that he was the only guy really covering that idea of adrenaline. Okay. So, then this is defense, right? Going to here. Oh boy, the one-handed job. Right? Look at this. That's defense, right? Now, defense basically, when the person comes, his rule is right. Never more than twice. Once they touch it, okay. Two, they touch it. They touch it again. You knock them out. Right hand. There's different techniques. His was always I have one technique of right hand to the chin. Of course, the guy's trained in boxing. Of course, he originally was a karate guy. Okay, his early writings were really cool because he actually was a scared, kind of sensitive kid. Growing up in rough Coventry, rough English Midlands place, city, and how he overcame that, and how he also went the other way. He became a real dickhead, and he admits that too. That's why I like the guy. So, anyway, but this is not defense. This is the art of fighting without fighting. So now, what is the difference here between that? Well, instead of throwing the right hand, we'll go to here. Oh boy, one-handed. The way this book is laid out too, it's very hard to do this. Yeah, you want to hear that. Right. So you go back to the script. You get defense, right? Now, for whatever reason, if you cannot bring yourself to attack preemptively, oh yeah, did I mention you got to hit first? Yeah. You need to create a gap between you and him, and or increasingly him, they, them, and take defense to a conscious level. Okay, they will realize you are taking control. So basically, you want to give even more of a distance between you and the other person. You're not going to hit them, so you have to be a little further back. Okay, and you give them a shove with your lead hand, right? Or a tie kick or anything to make that gap, and you make the distance. Okay, and I like how he mentions when you touch them, you don't hold the touch, you don't grab them. You grab somebody, the instinct's just gonna come in to grapple and wrestle you. Okay, you make that distance and you get a little further back. Okay, you instill adrenaline in them. Okay, and you balloon, you posture, right? You do what they tell you to do. If you get attacked by a black bear or a mountain lion, okay, you balloon, right? You make yourself big. You pace, you stalk. Okay, you yell commands. Okay, and it's better. It's apparently good to yell commands, not like you bitch, I'll fuck you up. More like don't move, like a cop. Like don't move, don't do this. Right, and posturing. Right, the art of fighting without fighting. Right, and then if they don't run off, you sort of run off. As you can see, it's sort of a risky thing, but it's always a risk. Okay, this ain't a joke, man. Now the problem is, I'm just gonna wrap up with, and it's not a problem. It's a brilliant book, Geoff. You're a great dude, man. You guy's a legend, real legend. Really gave useful items in the years of Black Belt magazine fantasy photos. Right? But I'll say this: this is probably working. This will work on people that look like you. Okay, in a homogeneous relatively homogeneous country. That has not been the case in America for a while, and that is changing. The whole West, the whole Anglosphere, Western Europe, and the continent's all changing. Talking, yelling commands. I refer to the fond, right? To the fond methods, where you don't verbalize at all. Okay, now maybe you could talk with Whitey, but even not. There's no point verbalizing. Okay, you don't verbalize. You don't talk. So in terms of also, you're not throwing hands. I'm not gonna say any more than that. You're not throwing hands. You're not doing fisticuffs. Okay, you may grapple a little bit to make some difference, but you're doing something else with your hands. Dirty minds and not what you think. If you get what I'm saying, I'm trying to use subtext for a change instead of being, the lout that I am. So, in some ways, in the world that's coming, right? I keep saying it, the night of the machetes, right? The machete virus. When that season is coming, okay, this may not work as well. Okay, uh, I think, we'll refer to the next book by my buddy James, a revision of his very first book in Paladin Press. But this is not to. This is a great book, still very useful. I recommend it. Recommend anything from Geoff Thompson. Here's to you, mate.